So in this video, we're going to learn how to use Redis. So what is Redis? It's a NoSQL database, also known as a key value store, which essentially means when you want to store something in Redis, you don't store it in a table inside a database. You give it a key, which is just a name, and then when you want to get something out of the database, you just access it using its name again. So you can't query the database like you can in MySQL, but because you can't query the database, they are much faster than SQL because all they have to know is the key to be able to retrieve something from the database. So I'm going to run Redis on a cloud server. So this is the first time I've used this server, so I have to say apt-get update. This updates all my repositories, which will allow me to download Redis. Now that we've updated the repositories, we'll be able to find Redis. So if I type in apt-get install Redis server, so there's Redis installed, and to start Redis, all we have to do is type in Redis CLI for Redis command line interface, run that, and now we can see our Redis server is running on the port 6379. So Redis has 5 data types. It has strings, it has lists, it has sets, it has sorted sets, and it has hashes. So a string is pretty simple. To set a string, all we do is we say set, and we'll give it a name, we'll say howCode, and we can give it a value. So we'll say howcode.org. When we hit enter, you can see Redis says OK to tell us that the string was created. And to retrieve the string, we can't type in something like howcode. You can see we get an error. Instead, what we do is we say get howcode. Really simple, it works just as you'd expect. We can also store numbers, so I can say set age equal to 10. And of course I can say get age. Redis commands aren't actually case sensitive, so I could say get age. And you can see it would work exactly as we'd expect, although the keys are case sensitive. So you can see age is lowercase. If I was to say get age, you can see we get nil because that key doesn't exist. Redis has what's called atomic operations, which means if 2 people were to access the server at the same time and they were to retrieve the same value at the same time and they wanted to increment the value or increase it or change it in any way, they'll be able to do that without interfering with each other. An example of an atomic operation in Redis is the increment operation. So because age is the number 10, I can say incr for increment. I can say age, and you can see it's incremented it by 1. Now if I say get age, you can see it returns 11 instead of 10. We can also delete a key by saying del age. Now if I say get age, you can see we get nil, age was deleted. We can also set keys to expire, so I can say expire age in 10 seconds. Now if I was to say get age, you can see we still get 12, but after 10 seconds, the age key will be deleted. So it's been 10 seconds now. So if I was to say get age now, you can see we get nil because age was deleted. The second data type in Redis is a list. And a list is just like an array in any other language. So if I wanted to create a list, I have to just push one element onto the list. And I can push from either direction. I can push from the left or push from the right. So to push onto the end of the list, I'm going to say rpush, and I'll give the list a name of my list, and I'll push on the word Francis. Now you can see we have a list with one item. If I was to say L push my list, and I was to say McNamee, that will push onto the start of the list. And if I was to now say L range, I give it my list, and then I give it my range, which in this case is the 0th element, to the end of the list, which will be -1. You can see I get both elements printed out. If I was to say L range my list from 0 to 1, we would get the same result. If I was to say 0 to 0, we just get McNamee printed out because that is the first element on the list. We can also remove an element from the list. We can say L pop my list, and that will remove the element at the end of the list, and it returns that element. And now if I do L range, you can see it's removed that element. Redis also has what are called sets. Sets are a bit like arrays and lists. They're both used to store groups of data, but a set doesn't have an order, so you can't index a set. You don't know whereabouts in a set any particular item is, and a set can't have duplicates. So to create a set, all we have to do is we have to add one element to it. So we say add for set add, and we want to give it a name. We'll say my set, and we'll say Francis. So now we have a set with one element. If I say add again, my set, and I'll say the word howCode, we have a set with 2 elements, but we don't know whereabouts in the set each element is. We can't guarantee that Francis is the first element, and we can't guarantee that howCode is the second element because sets don't have a concept of which element came first. The only thing I can do to check if an element is in the set is I say S is member for set is member, my set, and then I give it a name, say Francis. You can see I get 1 return for true. If I say Francis McNamee, you can see I get 0 because there is no element called Francis McNamee in the set. I can also remove elements in the set. I can say srem for sremove, my set, Francis. You can see there it's deleted. So sets are inherently limited by the fact that they have no concept of order. You don't know whereabouts in the set any particular element is. You can just tell whether it's there or not. So because of that, Redis has created another data type called a sorted set. So instead of starting your keyword with an S for set, we start with a Z, and that's how we create a sorted set. So we say Z add for sorted set add, we'll say sorted set, and we can add anything we want, but we have to give our elements a priority. So if I said 1 to this element and I say Francis, you can see we just added that. If I say Z add sorted set 2, I say Connor, you can see we have 2 items in the set, but because Francis has a lower score than Connor, that means the item Francis will be the first item in this set and Connor will be the second item in this set. And you can get all the elements in the set. You can say Z range, sorted set. Start in the 0th index, go to the end of the set. Now you can see we get both items printed out. So you're probably thinking this is just the same as a list, but a sorted set is still a set, so you can't have duplicates, but you can have duplicates in a list. So the last data type is a hash. Hashes in Redis are just maps between keys and values. So you can store a hash that has fields and you can use that to represent objects. So if I want to create a hash, say for example I want to represent an object and maybe I want to represent a user in a database, I could say hset and I give the user a name. I'll give it Francis and I'll say the full name field will have the value of Francis. And there you can see that has just been set. This hash has the name Francis and it has one field called full name and its full name field has a value of Francis. So a bit like in object-oriented programming, if you wanted to create a user object, you would have the user's name would be the name of the object and you would have a field for each of the different values you want to set about the user. If I want to set multiple values, I can say hm set for h multiple set, give it a name, I can give it the same name again to override it, give it full name, Francis McNamee. And I could give it another field. Now I can give it as many fields as I want. I could say YouTube for the YouTube channel. I could just say howCode. I could say website, just like that. I hit enter and now you can see that the key Francis has been overwritten and now it has 3 different fields and 3 values in those fields. You can retrieve individual fields. So in Python you might retrieve a value from an object by saying myObject.value, something like that. In Redis the way you do it is you say hget, you give the name of your hash or your object and then you give the name of the field. So in this case I want the full name field. Now you can see we get Francis McNamee printed out. If I wanted to get every detail about a user, I could say hget all Francis. And now I don't need to supply a field to retrieve because I want to get them all. I hit enter. Now you can see they come out in a list. So that's been a quick introduction to Redis. If you want to see more videos about Redis, just let me know. But that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow howCode on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.